let's talk Kickstarter retention. Hello everybody, I'm Ian with Board Feelings, and the other day I was talking to a friend who had just received his first ever Kickstarter. So he doesn't back very many games. In fact, he's officially backed 2, I believe now. He doesn't back very many games, and he just received the first one that he backed, a year and a half ago. And needless to say, he's a little nervous about it. And so we started talking, and I said, actually, I think my retention rate for games is higher for Kickstarter than for non-Kickstarter. And so I started doing some math, trying to figure out if that's true or not. And needless to say, yes, it is true, but let's talk about specifics. Now, first of all, I'm only talking about standalone games. I'm not talking about expansions at all, because sometimes I'll buy a game via Kickstarter and then get the expansion in retail, or vice versa. Maybe I'll buy the base game in retail and then kickstart the expansion later. I'm not talking about any expansions. These are purely base games. On top of that, a Kickstarter game I am defining as one that I personally backed on Kickstarter. I've backed quite a few games, and so I feel this list is pretty comprehensive as far as my Kickstarter games versus my non-Kickstarter games. So even if a game was kickstarted, but I bought it via retail, that is considered a retail game for me. So, for example, 18 Chesapeake, which is a 18XX game, it was kickstarted, but I bought it via retail. Scythe, kickstarted, I bought it via retail. Architects of the West Kingdom, kickstarted, I bought it via retail. The list goes on and on. So if I bought a game via retail, it is a retail game, even if it was kickstarted previously. The reason being for that is because when you buy a game via retail, I'm saying that a lot, via retail, if you buy a game retail, you often will have seen some reviews, see some reactions to the game, know if it's good or not, get some time, maybe even play it, maybe you got a chance to even play it, maybe a friend's copy or whatever. So there's a lot more knowledge in a retail game of knowing that a game is going to be good. Whereas when Kickstarter, you may have some previews and some rule books and the Kickstarter page, but overall, you don't know, because a lot can change from the Kickstarter campaign to actual delivery. I've had a game that I think I would have liked become a game I didn't like. Actually, on 2 occasions I've had that happen. A game I think I would have liked to a game that I didn't like changed so much that then I don't think it was a good game, or, maybe it's even a better game. That happens as well. So, with Kickstarter, there's a lot more, unknown as far as, is this game going to be good or not? So, I consider that, that's why I'm splitting these. Kickstarter, retail, where I purchased the game. Okay, there we go. I'm not going to go into specific numbers of how many things I've backed or bought in retail. I'm not going to go into specifics. As you can see, I have quite a few games. I have purchased a lot via retail, and I've purchased a lot via Kickstarter, so just know that these numbers are a lot. Okay, so my Kickstarter games, I have purchased a certain amount, and of those, 24% of them I no longer own. So 76% of them I do own. I do still own these games that I kickstarted. So that's a pretty good rate, I feel. For every 4 games I back on Kickstarter, I'm going to keep 3 of them. And maybe 1 of them that I sell. Yeah, that's not so bad. But again, some of these games were good games. I just sold them because either I couldn't get them to the table, or I played it out, I didn't want to play it anymore, or sometimes, yes, they were bad games, or I didn't enjoy the game, so that definitely does happen as well. So yeah, that's my retention rate for Kickstarter is 76%. So I think it's pretty good for how many games I've backed on Kickstarter. So now let's go to my retail retention rate. Of my retail games, of all the games, 34% of them, almost 34% of them, I no longer own. I have sold. So that means 66% of them I keep, which is almost exactly 10 points less. I say almost because I'm rounding as far as these numbers go. Don't know what it means. There's one obvious factor in it is that I invested in Kickstarter, probably paid a little more via Kickstarter than I would have through retail. So maybe I choose to hold on to those games longer and give them more of a shot. Whereas retail, I paid less for them. I'm like, okay, this was a $40 game. I can offload it for $20 and just get it out of my house. That's fine. I liked the game. I've played it. I'm done with it. Which honestly, a lot of these games I did do that with. I played through them and then I just sold them for not much of a profit because I just wanted to get them. I just wanted to free up space. So yeah, I found that interesting. 76% retention rate for Kickstarter, 66% retention rate for retail. Don't know if that's good or bad, but it's what mine are. So yeah, what do you think? Do you think games that you've backed via Kickstarter are better? Or are you just more invested in them financially, so you hold on to them longer? What do you think the reasoning is? Leave your thoughts and feelings in the comments below, and I go experience many bored feelings.